What's up, Cradle fans? Today we're talking about Ziel. Why are we talking about Ziel? Because he's probably going to be in the Uncrowned tournament, and some of you might have forgotten about the things that make him interesting. Plus, the Discord has talked lately about some theories that piqued my interest, and someone recently asked me to throw out a video with some crackpot theories in it. So, here we go. Alright, we begin. Ziel, the Lord of the Dawnwing Sect. Now, if you don't know where that is in the books, it is in Ghostwater on page 224. Do I have the Lord of the Dawnwing Sect back with me? Alright, now to the actual presentation. So Ziel is a character that first showed up in the entry of Ghostwater. He's one of the contestants. He's under the representation of the Beast King, which I found interesting always because the Beast King never felt like a large sect to begin with. He wasn't someone that I thought, oh, this person has lots of resources and can send true golds in and out. Not like the Akura clan or the Nine Cloud Court. So I wouldn't have expected Red Moon Hall either, but they have lots of people wanting to become emissaries. But anyway, the Beast King just felt like a guy who was out in the wastelands fighting dragons. So whenever he was represented in Ghostwater, it made me think, like, okay, maybe there's more out there than we realize. Maybe there are actual lots of living humans out there that are truly strong. So Ziel being there was always interesting, but we're going to go through a little bit about who Ziel was that we know of, and then I'm going to throw out some theories about what I think Ziel's path is, what I think the Dawnwing Sect could have been, how I think that's associated with the Beast King. So let's get into it. So this is the first time Lyndon sees him. Y'all probably read all this by this point, but he's a young man. His eyes are bloodshot and half-lidded. His gray cloak stained and dirty, and two emerald horns rose from his forehead, pointing up. So forehead pointing up. And then later on, well, actually this is earlier than before Ghostwater ever came out. Someone asked specifically, what do the horns look like? Two upward curving emerald horns, lime green at the base, dark green at the top. Now I bring this up because there is always going to be an association with dragons when someone is associated with the Beast King, because the Beast King fights dragons. So I was always thinking dragons. Ziel's Madra. This is a question, two different questioners. The first one, are Ziel's scripts a part of his path or a workaround? It's part of his path. Then someone asked another question, spoilers, I think, about how to fix his core. Can't comment on that, so there's going to be more about that later on in the next books. Then this is a question that I didn't even know existed until the conversation in the Discord popped up. But what is Ziel's path in Madra? It's primarily Force Madra. Okay, that's interesting, and it uses scripts. So scripts that can do Force Madra. But when his spirit was described, it was described differently. His aura felt as strong and steady as the roots of a mountain. Now, some have said that that's just a metaphor, but there are a lot of things that describe strong, like strong as iron, strong as steel. Never has anything been described as strong and steady as like the roots of a mountain. That reminds me of, for whatever reason, of earthbenders in Avatar: The Last Airbender. So it made me think it was an earth path. Now, there was another part of this that that I'll bring up now, related to him probably having some sort of earth force combination. And it has to do with this. He cast down his perception and immediately noticed a tiny hut to his right. It looked like it had been slapped together from mud and bundles of dry grass, though he could not see those materials anywhere around him. So Lyndon enters the entryway of Ghostwater. He's observing. It's basically sand and rock and then a big dome of water. And then green horned bro over here is in a hut. Okay, we've got Akura Harmony chilling on a rock cycling. We've got Ikiri, the Ikiranatoth or whatever, the golden dragon in her Madra house. And then we've got Yan Shomei chilling off to the side. So he made himself a little hut out of mud. How? I don't know. Probably he did something with the sand and the water, whatever. But I feel like it's earth related. And that his aura felt as strong and steady as the roots of a mountain. And then he goes and he kicks boulders right at Linden using his force scripts. So keep that in mind. Earth, his horns are green, related to the Beast King who fights dragons. Okay? Alright, now we get to his core. This is important because this has to do with his progression and what's going on. So Linden opened his copper sight. A venomous, toxic green ravaged his body, dimming the aura of his blood and life. So some have said that everything might have looked green because of this toxic green. But if you look at this, a venomous, toxic green ravaged his body, dimming the aura of his blood and life. That's like all over. And then Linden extends his perception, scanning the man's spirit. And he didn't resist at all. His core, specifically, is a hazy green light. It doesn't describe it as venomous, toxic green. It describes it as a hazy green light because it had been destroyed. And we see that his scripts are green, his horns are green. Something had deliberately sliced it into pieces, then stitched the pieces back together. But he had the power of a true gold. How powerful had he been before? So he had the power of a true gold after his core got jacked up. So how powerful could he have been before? So again, we've got green Madra, but we've got a toxic, venomous toxic green that had ravaged his body. So keep that in mind. Venomous and toxic. All right, speculation and theory time. I'm going to go over a couple things. Then we're going to get into what I think Ziel's past was. So how strong was he? It has been largely speculated he was an Arch Lord because he was able to observe the Arch Lord tablets without his brain going all jacked up. He was called the Lord of the Dawnwing Sect by the Beast King, and my assumptions are that his former sect was based in the wastelands. He was one of the prime lieutenants of the Beast King, and he got jacked up by the dragons. But I think that his path has to do with harnessing the power of a green earthbound dragon. I'll talk more about that here in a second. So, how do we even know that there are green earthbound dragons? Well, there's a word of will. Someone asked, are the other colors of dragon Madra, are there other colors of dragon Madra beyond Black Flame? Then Will goes to talk about the colors of dragons, and then he gets into the color of their Madra. Now, this is very important. He says in this one quote that I'm so happy exists, there are sea dragons that are blue, sky dragons with a variety of colors, and earthbound land dragons that might be green or brown. Okay, then let's carry on. But you asked about the color of their flame, not the color of their scales. Yes, there are dragons with toxic green flame, frigid icy flame that consumes even as it freezes, and good old natural flame. So we've got two descriptions here again. Earthbound land dragons that might be green or brown. And then now we're talking about the color of Madra. Okay? Dragons with toxic green Madra that they use for flame. That's got to say something. So do I have another slide? Let's look. I don't. So now I can just freeball. This is what I think the Dawnwing Sect was. I think the Dawnwing Sect was a sect in the wastelands that used scripting techniques to harness and use the dragon's power against them. They would kill dragons, harvest their remnants, give the remnants to their jades, and then their jades would get those dragon remnants, and then use the scripting to make use of their power. So they wouldn't actually use the dragon Madra per se. They would harness it based on the scripting. So you could have a lot of these different people in the Dawnwing Sect harvest different kinds of dragon remnants and still use scripting to do their techniques. So that's what I think went down. I think that Ziel was the leader of this sect by this point. He was like the patriarch, and they had killed too many dragons, and then finally a powerful toxic green dragon or whatever came at him, defeated him, fucked up his core, and then sent a message to the Beast King, you know, don't stop doing this shit or we're going to kill your best people. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to assume that the Dawnwing Sect got destroyed as a whole, because Sisheth Gunaz believes in the might is right. He doesn't like civilization. He just likes the deserted wasteland. So that's what I think happened. I think some powerful dragon just either found some way of defeating Ziel. And now, because he jacked up his core, now Ziel's body or spirit is back to the power of a true gold. Now this is interesting. I'm actually going to pause this and pull up some stuff. Okay, so this part is just more evidence that Ziel has had his body bathed in soulfire. So this is when Harmony attacks everyone with Shadow's Edge. So the Dragon Girl skidded to a halt, scattering sand into the air. Shadowblade passed in front of her. The Horned Man raised a hand, and a circle of green script flashed into existence in front of him. The edge of shadow cut into it, and the script flickered before shattering like glass. So the shadow defeats the script. And then, according to Linden, his shield must have weakened the attack because he didn't fall into two pieces like Renfei had. Instead, the skin on his hand split open, leaking blood. He stared at the wound with lifeless eyes, as though watching someone else's hand. So he's thinking this because he just saw the same attack cut someone else in half. He doesn't know anything about Ziel yet. He doesn't know anything about the Shadow's Edge yet. He doesn't learn about the Shadow's Edge until Dross tells it to him later on. Shadow's Edge can cut through the spirit just as well as it can cut through skin. But if Ziel had been a lord, his body would have been bathed in soulfire, and it would have been much more difficult for true gold level Madra to cut through to hurt him. So I thought that was interesting. So that's just more like a little low-key evidence that he was definitely a lord. He's called the Lord of the Dawnwing Sect. So that's what I think happened. And that's why I think the Beast King is going through such efforts to heal him so that he can compete in the Uncrowned tournament. Fortunately for him, Northstrider comes, and who knows what Northstrider did, but we know that Ziel is in the next book. How do we know that Ziel's in the next book? I'll show you. I'll go to his blog. Okay, this is going to be a spoiler warning, actually. But if you're watching this video, you probably want those. And if you're watching this video, you probably already read what I'm about to show you. Okay, the next thing Ziel knew, his hammer was covered in blood that slowly dissolved into light. That tells me that Ziel just used his hammer to destroy a blood shadow. And the blood shadow was splattered against his hammer and then dissolved into light and returned to the body of the Blood Moon Hall representative. So we know he's in the next book. So yeah, that's all I got. I think Ziel harvested a dragon remnant, uses scripting to do awesome force-related abilities. He got to Arc Lord. A toxic green dragon jacked him up. Now the Beast King wants to heal him so he can fight against Sisheth Gunaz in their Uncrowned tournament. It sounds like he gets to fight against the Blood Moon Hall representative at least. Those are my thoughts. I would like to thank, I think it was Teevil, and a couple others in the Discord for having this discussion with me that got me thinking about all this stuff. I know I said some of this stuff in the Discord that many of y'all didn't really agree with, but that was before I brought in some speculative evidence. That's not really evidence, but just things that might help us put the pieces together to give us more to think about before the book comes out. The book comes out in a week. Actually, a week from now, most of you who get it release night will have already read it. So I'll see y'all then, I guess, unless I decide to make another video before the release night. Either way, if you haven't, one more thing. The audiobook is officially out. They've fixed the publisher summary. You can pre-order it now. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Let me know your comments. What do you want to see next, etc.